Hello, BookTube. I have a Friday mail haul for you here, a fairly sizable one to round off our work week, our endless stream of 14-hour days at the box factory. There's bound to be something in here that makes Steve squeal. We have lots of manila, we have lots of cardboard, and we end with a box. So I'm thinking we're in pretty good shape. So let's see what this first one is. Let's see what we can find in this mail haul together. I do so love the fact that you let me do these with you. Okay, we saw this already. This is by Bob Batchelor. This is The Bourbon King. This is the finished copy of a book that comes out in early September about George Remus, the Bourbon King of the Prohibition era. And the pub sheet, we just saw this recently. When most of us think of the 1920s and Prohibition, we think of Al Capone and his multi-million-dollar Chicago bootlegging operation, but there was a bigger player on the scene. A man many believe accumulated more wealth than the notorious gangster, and with a sophistication that Capone certainly never achieved. And he did it all from a smaller market, Cincinnati. And that's this. That's this. So it's The Life of a True Crime Gangster, and it comes out in early September. I've had the advance copy and haven't got to it because I am swamped with September books, so it just hasn't felt right, or August books, so it hasn't felt right to launch into September. But I have to. I have been reading around in September, and well past September as well, so I have no excuse for leaving the Bourbon King on the curb. I admit the true crime era element is not really my thing, but it's... Okay, you know what else is not really my thing? Being covered in asbestos is really not my thing. Okay, so the zip on this envelope, designed to prevent you from covering yourself in flaking asbestos and sucking it in, didn't work. And when it doesn't work, you have to open the envelope, which is full of asbestos. So you've got, you can't just, well, okay. I'll ignore it for the sake of the video, but you can't just ignore it in the long term. Because it's going to just be here everywhere if you don't pay attention to it. So I will, let's delicately put this away somewhere so that no more of it spills. I'm covered in it, but let's see who wants to kill me. This is a small publisher. This is Zoe in the Roosting by Sarah Webley. And Zoe looks like a crow, sounds like a crow, and flies like a crow, but Zoe thinks she's a human girl. And it's an illustrated novel. Looks like a small press thing. Sounds charming. Do we have any kind of useful information here? I mean, I would like to know one of two things, either when this book comes out or when I'm going to die, now that I've sucked in 12 pounds of asbestos. Okay, this comes out in early September. Okay, so this is, let's fold this so I can immediately see this. This is a kid's book about a human acting crow. And one of the odd and alarming things about crows is that they all act like humans. It makes you realize what a-holes humans can be when you see crows behaving, because all you're seeing is your own behavior. They don't have much in the way, crows and ravens don't have much in the way of avian behavior. They mostly have a-hole human behavior. Although they don't mail things that are flaking in asbestos. Let's put this away. There we go. Okay. All right. Let's move on. I don't think we're going to have any more issues with known carcinogens. So let's see what this next thing is. Oh, great, fantastic. Okay, I think we saw this already, or maybe not. This is a thriller. It's by Sean Parnell, and it is All Out War. Latest in a long string of really nice looking hardcover thrillers that I've been getting. And this one, you expect when you have a thriller that you're going to have a sell sheet, a pub sheet that's inside the book that tells you all about it. But in this one has a dossier about our main character. Our main character is Eric Steele, of course, that's what he's called, and he's single, though seldom solo. He's 6'1", he weighs 200 pounds, his eyes are green, his hair is black, his age is 33, and he is brave, confident, sometimes cocky, witty, humorous, profound, adventurous, resourceful, charming, and selfless. And he's a military guy, an extensive military background who goes on missions. I'm guaranteeing you that no matter, I don't know who Sean Parnell is when he's at home. Oh, he's young. Look at that. That is our author. He's a young guy. What have we got here? He's the author of the best-selling memoir Outlaw Platoon and the novel Man of War. And I think Man of War was the first book in this series. He is a retired U.S. Army infantry captain who served in some of the heaviest combat of the Afghan War. He recounts those battles in vivid detail during his leadership presentations for the nation's most successful teams and corporations. He's also the co-founder of the American Warrior Initiative, a charity that honors and empowers our veterans. He lives with his 3 children near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I don't know, I don't think I've read Man of War, but I can guarantee you that of all those adjectives that were applied to our hero, Eric Steele, he is not profound. You know, I don't mean to bash on him. I'm sure he'll be heroic and selfless and brave and all that, but he won't be profound. So, but anyway, let's see what this next one is. So that's. Oh, did I mention? Does his dossier tell me what I need to know? This is an eyes-only dossier, BookTube. Don't go spreading around that information about Eric Steele, that he's single but seldom solo. Don't go spreading that around. Okay, the dossier has an interview with the author, some pictures of him during his term of service. Doesn't appear to have a date. Kind of an important thing that I don't appear to see. This time Eric Steele is on the hunt for a formidable Russian terrorist. Yes, it comes out in early September. Okay, so good. I'm always in the mood for a thriller. I've had a whole bunch of them recently. In fact, not only did I have a whole bunch of thrillers recently, BookTube, I don't know if you're interested, but I also wrote about them. I write the ex-Libris column for the Wethersfield Proctor Library in small town Vermont. Mark Richardson is the head librarian there, and he and his board very kindly gave me space on the library's website for a column. My first column in 35 years. And it was a rocky start, I admit. I wrote the first couple of columns while I was actually at the little farmhouse in Vermont. And I felt as rusty as could be, because writing a column is different from writing a review. And I used to do it a long time ago, and I had completely forgotten. I just was so rusty. Because, it's so radically different. With a review, I know exactly why I'm telling you what I'm telling you, if that makes any sense. I have, I guess, the horrible, pompous-sounding thing to say would be that I have authority as a reviewer, and I know it. I feel it as well as I hope my readers do. I know what I'm talking about when I'm reviewing a book. Not just the subject matter of the book, but how to review it. And I didn't write enough columns all those years ago to really get that down. And so I felt almost like a neophyte. And then just a little while ago, probably 3 weeks ago, suddenly the penny just dropped. And I remembered how you do a column. It isn't a matter of authority when you write a column. It's something completely different. It's you. It's you personally. You're the one who's floating the thing. And Mark's tech people did a good job. They have an icon of me, my sketch icon, from the old Open Letters Monthly and Steve Reed's days. And I don't have any space limits. I don't even, I think, have any frequency limits. I can write a column every day if I wanted to. So I'll leave a link. I wrote a column. The reason I bring it up is because I wrote a column recently on the latest batch of thrillers and what they are. So I'll leave a link to that just in case you're interested in reading it. Okay, this next one is a double blast of Dude Bro Lit. We saw this already. We saw this in my page 112 tag yesterday. And this is Tiny Love. This is the complete stories of Larry Brown, which doesn't come out until November. This is late November. But Larry Brown is a bit of a Dude Bro legend. And this is, I believe, the first soup to nuts collection of his short fiction. So it'll be, I'm sure that it will get lots of attention. Let's see here. Let's do this next one. Now we're moving into the territory of cardboard. Let's see. All right. Pull tabs on these things usually don't work, but they usually don't fail that bad. So the packages are putting up a bit of a fight this time around. But that's all right. Let's see what this next one is. Oh my! Oh goodness gracious! Oh my! Okay, this also comes out in early September. This is the new Amory Ames mystery by Ashley Weaver. This is A Dangerous Engagement. This is the latest in her Milo and Amory Ames series. They are back this time as they are drawn into the unfamiliar new world of New York City to try to figure out who murdered one of their own. As they travel by ship to New York for her childhood friend Tabitha's wedding, Amory Ames gazes out at the city's iconic skyline. The bees this time of year, they're so awful. Excited by the prospect of being a bridesmaid. Her husband Milo, however, is convinced their trip will be deadly dull since Prohibition is in full swing. I guess they don't know the Bourbon King. But when a member of the wedding party is found murdered on the front steps of the bride's home, the happy plans take a darker twist. Amory discovers that the dead groomsman has links to the notorious and notoriously handsome gangster Leon Delora, and soon she and Milo find themselves drawn into another mystery. While the police seem to think the New York's criminal underworld is at play, Amory feels they can't ignore the wedding party either. Oh, wow. All right, this comes out in early September. Naturally, I'm thinking of Olive at A Book Olive. She loves this series, and she'd be perfect to review it. So perhaps I will float that idea. I can't remember if I sent her the advance copy of this. Maybe I did. But one way or another, I love the Amory Ames mysteries. I think I reviewed one. Once again, if I remember, I will try to leave a link if I did. I think I reviewed the last one and really liked it. So let's. Oh, great, fantastic. Okay, this is going to be another September book. It is, yeah. September is just out of control. This is a great book. I've already read it. It's a great author. You really can't go wrong. This is Amitav Ghosh. This is Gun Island, the finished copy of Gun Island. I'm still backlit here. I've recently descended from my Father in heaven. There's nothing I can do about the backlit, but you're not coming here for the visuals. You can make it out, and that's good enough. And maybe, thanks. Maybe the fact that it's backlit will finally be the kick in the pants I need to remember to list the books. You all have said. It's been a universal chorus of people saying, yes, we'd love to talk to you, but list the books. So that, for reference sake, so that if they're going quickly through a list of videos because they can't remember what that book was, they can find it without watching, 30 minutes of me natter on about the weather and backfires in the background. Another thing would be if some of you were, I don't know, I've meant to ask, are there Steve Donahue playlists out there on YouTube? I would imagine that there must be, because I've done over 2,000 videos. So just for the sake of helping, I mean, I ought to do it myself. It's very easy to make playlists. I should do it myself. Put all the book hauls together, put all the writing advice together, put all the discussion videos together, all the New York Times books together. I should do that. But anyway, Gun Island is fantastic. I strongly recommend it, coming out in September. This is a literary adventure and intellectual mystery that takes us from New York to Los Angeles and to the mangrove forests of Bengal and the streets and canals of Venice. Gun Island is rooted in an old Bengali legend, but is set in the present and grapples head-on with the most important issues of our day: climate change, global migration, and collapsing biodiversity. And don't let that put you off, because there's also a really good story in here. At the heart of the novel is Dinanath Deen Datta, a reserved Indian-American rare book dealer who becomes fascinated by a story out of Bengali folklore about a figure called the Gun Merchant and the Hindu folk goddess of snakes, Manasa Devi. After visiting an old temple Dean begins to unravel the origins of this legend with the help of his friend Sinta, an esteemed Italian scholar, and Pia, a Bengali-American marine biologist. Along the way, we encounter extreme storms, raging fires, and an angry snake, and we are drawn into the story of Tipu and Rafi, two young men who decide to make the long trek from Bengal to Europe in search of greater opportunities and to flee the pressure of climate change. I'm sorry about that pub sheet. I know the pub sheet writer is doing the best they can, but that makes it sound like a preachy book, and it's not. I want to assure you of that in case you're about as tired of preachy books as I am. Right, now we'll do these two enormous vacuum press things. No idea what here. Tear these to pieces just to get... Oh, okay, great. Wow, this is bigger than I thought. This is a late August release. Boy, I haven't got to this. That's terrible. I really should. This is a late August release. This is by Peter Gatrell, and it is The Unsettling of Europe, How Migration Reshaped Continent. There you have poor immigrants making their way with bundles across a train track, upended train tracks. And in a sense, I mean, you'll know what I mean. In a broad sense, this is a Trump book, but only in the distant sense here. Not anything like the Trump books that I get all the time that are squarely on the subject. Let's see here. We saw this already. This comes out in late August. Not everything can be written as a history of progress. Perhaps one of the most pressing issues of our time, migration, has completely decentered European politics and has become a battleground, a source of angry exchanges among nationalists and liberal political leaders, causing disharmony within the European Union. As we ponder the current refugee crisis across the Atlantic, it is important to remember that the history of Europe has always been one of people on the move. There is no refugee crisis on this side of the Atlantic. Just so we're clear on that. There is no refugee crisis in America. Since the end of World War II, the most important issues facing Europe have always been inextricably bound with the mass movement of people, both those voluntarily crossing international frontiers or moving within a single country, as well as those displaced by forced migration caused by war, reconstruction, and decolonization. It is difficult to imagine any part of the continent that has been untouched by migration. Wow, okay, this sounds fantastic, and I thought it did when I read it to the advanced copy. I really need to get to this. This probably should take precedence over everything else. Peter Gatrell is a renowned historian of modern migration and professor of economic history at the University of Manchester. And he lives in Manchester. He's a Mancusian. All right, so this thing, it's like the tomb of a mummy. It's gigantic and it's burst open. Let's just put it aside for now. And open this next one is also an enormous thing. One of these things I'm going to have to tear into confetti to do anything with. Oh, okay. All right, this is going to be a September book. Yes, indeed. All right, I've heard of this. I haven't seen it. We never saw an advance copy, I think. This is by Kate Haste, and it is Passionate Spirit, The Life of Alma Mahler. There she is. You make out the details there? That is Passionate Spirit. Sorry about the backlighting. We'll get it done. I'll get the hang of this sooner or later, maybe at 3,000 videos. The New York Times obituary for Alma Mahler-Werfel describes a life defined by relationships with brilliant men, and there were many. The painter Gustav Klimt, architect Walter Gropius, the painter Oskar Kokoschka, the writer Franz Werfel, and of course her first husband, the composer Gustav Mahler, just to name a few. While her intellect, nurtured by her brilliant father, complemented her beauty, according to the Times obituary, there is no mention of her work as a composer, which Mahler asked her to abandon as a condition of their marriage. He said, "You can't compose in competition with me if you're going to marry. You're to be a housewife and whatnot, but not a composer." And she married him anyway. Let's see here. Mahler fans may already be predisposed against Alma due to her negative portrayal in previous biographies, but Passionate Spirit draws on previously unpublished letters, diary entries, and interviews with Mahler's descendants to reveal a full portrait of a truly modern woman whose intellect, spirit, and passion exerted powerful influence on the cultural innovators of the early 20th century. The author paints Mahler as a woman essential to any real understanding of Mahler's work. Yes, but more importantly, a brilliant person who deserves to be celebrated in her own right. Well, okay, a brilliant person who deserves to be celebrated in her own right, but it sounds from this pub sheet like you're also going to say that she wasn't the queen of all shrieking harpies, and every single biographer, every single letter, every single account from any of the people that she knew or slept with or married all agree on that one point. They disagree on everything else, but they all agree on that one point. So we're right back in the same territory that we saw earlier in the year with George Washington's mother. Remember that? There was a scholar who came along and wrote a book about George Washington's mother, trying to make the case that she was not the queen of all shrieking harpies. This idiotic backwoods woman who thought that she could make money off her son and didn't like him, and was constantly complaining about him in public. One of the only things I ever felt sorry for Washington about was his mother, and that book tried to make a case that she was different from what everybody in her time agreed on. And I didn't agree with the book. I didn't think it succeeded. And here we are again. This is a life of Alma Mahler that decides to try to make her likable. Okay, we shall see. It's a September book. And this mail haul and all the recent mail hauls that we've had are clearly fate pushing me to start paying serious attention to September. Don't start to stop flying around with November and December and start to buckle down. September is an enormous month. It's going to be an enormous month for books. So maybe I should do that. But now we have the last thing. This is a box. It's a big, thick, heavy box. Might be a big, finished, heavy copy. And if it's a big, finished copy of a September release, then Steve will consider that the message has been delivered and received about where I should be paying my attention. So let's see here. I've got a lot of things to remember to do, don't I? For this, I've got to remember to link my review of Amory Ames if I wrote one. I've got to remember to I don't remember. I've got to remember to list the books. I've got to remember to link to my thriller column, my ex-Libris column for the Wethersfield Proctor Library in Vermont. It's the cutest little library you have ever seen. And they've given me a column. My first column in forever. So, boy, this is a noisy video. Sorry about that. We've had engines. We've had engine backfires. We've had trucks. We've had those obnoxious moped scooters where the owners go into the shop and say, I need the loudest one you have. And now we have sirens, of course. Anyway, what is this box? What is this box? Good Lord, look at the size of this thing. Oh my! Oh goodness gracious! I had no idea this was this big. Okay, this is the finished copy of a September book. Okay, so a message is received. I will this weekend start buckling down with September and just read September. Okay. Okay. All right. This is a historical novel. This is one of many historical novels that we've seen this year. This is the finished copy. Had no idea it was going to be this big. By Sarah Donati, who's been doing historical novels just forever and ever. This is Where the Light Enters. There are historical characters wandering across the old Brooklyn Bridge. Of course, if you stand right there and look at the skyline of New York, it will not look like that anymore. So let's see here. From 1998 through 2011, internationally best-selling author Sarah Donati changed the landscape of historical fiction when she brought readers the Wilderness series, which included 6 historical novels that followed the Bonner family in the vast wilderness of upstate New York. Then, Donati returned with a special brand of historical fiction her fans adore with The Gilded Hour, the start of a sweeping saga set against the backdrop and the wondrous and exciting Gilded Age of New York, one of the most fascinating periods in American history. I tend to agree. Now Donati delivers the highly anticipated and evocative follow-up, Where the Light Ends, an enthralling epic about 2 trailblazing female doctors in the mid-19th century New York and the transformative power of bravery and love. Okay, alright, so quite a few of these books are September books. That is great. That is great. I am not complaining about getting a stack of free books in the mail. But I really need to, I really need to get my act together about September. Instead of picking and pecking, I really need to start concentrating on September. We're halfway through August, for Pete's sake. So that is our mail haul. That was not a bad mail haul at all. So we have Sarah Donati, Where the Light Enters. And I'm going to see if I can get the first one from the publicist. I haven't done that yet, but I probably should have. I'm going to read this and pay it attention. Then we have Kate Haste. This is Passionate Spirit, A New and Re-Evaluative Life of Alma Mahler. Then we have The Unsettling of Europe by Peter Gatrell, about just what the title says, only bigger. Again, another book that's bigger than I thought. Then Gun Island by Amitav Ghosh, a writer of contemporary fiction that I really like and that you should all be reading. Then A Dangerous Engagement, the new Amory Ames mystery by Ashley Weaver. Then we have, let's see here, All Out War by Sean Purnell, second book in an ongoing military thriller series. So if you're looking for a new kind of series like that, this is the second book. I'll report back on it as soon as I can. Then we have The Bourbon King, about the biggest mobster in Cincinnati during the Prohibition. Then we have Tiny Love by Larry Brown, the collected short stories of Larry Brown, and Zoe in the Roosting Tree. a small press publication, a kid's book about a crow who thinks it's human. So there you go. That is our last weekday mail haul. Fairly heavy, almost all September. I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. We have plenty of other bookish stuff to talk about. Thank you, BookTube.